back. All right, we have a double chapter special today. We just finished chapter 20. We're gonna go into chapter 21. But I realized that during when I was reading chapter 20, I was trying to remember things of oh yeah, the silver balls, oh the gunk, and the silver stuff everywhere, and trying to remember who the characters were. I tend to fly by the seat of my pants, so I probably should have gone back and refreshed my memory, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. So if you don't remember, you should probably go back and rewatch the previous chapters just to kind of refresh yourself. I'm refreshing as I go, but I think I got it because this is the second time I read the book, so I got it. This is also the second time that I'm recording this chapter because I realized that the first time I recorded it, I let out a spoiler that I thought it was from a chapter we already read, and then as I was reading the chapter, I was like, oh, it was this chapter. So this is a really good chapter, really intense, so I'm really excited to read it. Really, 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 really. I said that a lot. Let's go ahead. Chapter 21. With the ball stowed safely back in Beans' pack, we find Scarlet, Edge, and Hoppy standing in a small clearing covered in thick silver gunk that lies in these long streak-like fingers, almost like they're pointing at something. Black ash charged the ground and the surrounding trees, making it obvious that whatever landed here burned the terrain. Thank God it rained. This could have started a forest fire. The long fingers led straight toward a rectangular piece of rusted metal that lies on the ground. Actually, I realize as I get closer, it's a door with hinges and a latch, and there's a jagged hole right in the center about the size of a basketball. That's weird. A door out in the middle of the woods? Why would there be a door out here? Rocky comes sprinting through the trees from one direction, and Finn the other. Weren't they supposed to stay together? We all stand for a second in the clearing and just stare. It's Edge who speaks first. Know what that is? That's a door leading to a storm shelter. There used to be a cabin here a long time ago. I bet anything there's supplies down there. Canned goods and whatnot. I turn and survey the cleared area, and sure enough, I can visualize a little cabin right here with all these woods surrounding it. Secluded. Like where some mountain man might have lived once upon a time. Edge leans down and grabs the handle and creaks open the door all the way, letting it rest on the ground. Simultaneously, we take a step closer and lean in. A few wooden steps lead down and gradually disappear into the darkness. There's no telling what's down there. With that thought, I back up a little. Rocky squats next to the door and runs his finger around the basketball-sized hole. This looks new. Check it out. It's not rusted or anything. Beans does his scientific thing, leaning in, studying the hole in the door. I swear, if he had a calculator and a protractor, he'd probably whip those out too. Whatever fell shot right through. What if it's an alien? Finn whispers. I swallow. Good point. For a few seconds, no one speaks, and then Beans looks around the area. Everyone find a weapon. We all scramble away, coming back seconds later with various things. A stick, a rock, a broken Coke bottle. I look at the broken bottle in Finn's hand. Where'd you get that? He nodded over his shoulder. In the woods. It was the only one. Beans flips on his flashlight. Ready? I crowd in behind him. You're going first? You're so brave. As usual, Rocky steps up. I'll go first. Beans straightens his shoulders. I got this. Holding both hands up, Rocky backs away. Okay, all right. It's all you. Finn hands Beans the broken bottle. If you're going first, then take this. It's a better weapon than that stick you're holding. Finn and Beans swap weapons, and I glance at Scarlet to see her hovering close to Edge. Ready? Beans repeats, and we all nod. Stay, Edge tells Hoppy. Down the steps, the six of us slowly go. Beans, me, Rocky, Finn, and Scarlet, with Edge bringing up the rear. One by one, we flip on the flashlights we have left as we descend the damp wooden steps into the darkness. The rain must have come in through the hole, Bean says, and no one responds. Like me, I think they're all more concerned with aliens right now than wet steps. The temperature drops and dust floats in Beans' light beam as he scans the dirt walls lining the narrow passage. Reaching forward, I grab the back of his shirt, and I barely breathe or blink as my gaze bounces around the darkness. Behind me, Rocky moves in close, and I'm happy to be sandwiched between the two of them. Down, down, down we go, until we're standing in a room about the size of my bedroom. The floor's a little wet, just like the stairs. Shelves line the walls with cans of food and jars of jam, everything covered in dust. I wonder how long this has been here, Bean says. None of us move as our lights play off the details of the small room, and I pay particular attention to the dark corners where little bug-eyed aliens might be hiding. But there's no one here except us. Whatever made the hole in the door was probably just another one of those silver balls. Gradually, we began to move away from one another to explore the small room. I pick up one of the metal cans of food and flip it over to see a date stamp. June 1932. Wow, this is old. I think about our Tennessee history unit in school this year and all the black and white pictures we saw of farmers and miners during the early 1900s. We also watched the black and white documentary about the Depression. This metal can and probably everything else in here is from that time period. Learning about history is one thing, but actually seeing it in real life? It's almost like seeing a ghost or something. Check this out, Rocky says, shuffling something around. I turn to see him pulling a chest out from the corner and into the beam of sunlight shining in from above. He lifts the lid. Clothes lie in neatly folded piles, some men's, some women's, and others children's. Rocky picks a few pieces up and holds them out. One of the shirts looks like an old military uniform. Finn grabs a bar of soap wrapped in brown paper and smiles. If anyone finds water, tell me. Scarlet lifts out a child's romper with the little buttons and ruffles. Oh, it's so cute. I hear a clank from behind me and glance over my shoulder to see Beans rifling through a canister of old junk. A watch on a chain, a tiny mirror, a small picture frame, a silver brush, a baby's rattle, and some of those knitting needles like my mom uses. Bean shines his light around the room again. How cool is this? There it is, Edge whispers. Everything is forgotten as we turn to see the silver object that he's found wedged under a canvas bag. The ore must have fallen through the door and down the stairs, hit the ground, and rolled underneath the bag. The object is the exact same color as the perfectly round balls we've already found, but this one isn't perfect. It has square knobs sticking out of it with a couple inches of space in between each knob. It sort of looks like a giant jack. Edge slips leather gloves onto each hand and gently slides the ball out from under the bag. With a small grunt, he picks up the sphere, and I hold my breath, waiting for I'm not sure what. Something. The thing to move? For it to open? For the other balls we have in our pack to recognize it? I don't know. Bean moves in to look. Is it heavy? I'd say it's about 20 pounds. Edge says, 20 pounds? The other silver balls are light. What could be inside this one that's 20 pounds? Bean shakes his head. That's definitely not a meteor. I don't see how an alien can fit in that, says Scarlet, or the other balls we found. Finn lifts a finger to touch the object, and Edge moves it out of his reach. Let's get it up top, and then we can all look at it. Carefully, he starts back up the steps, and we follow. I see Hoppy looking down at us, wagging his tail, and the late afternoon sun shining in behind him. Edge stops right as he's about to climb out and turns down to look at us. Hey, do you guys mind getting some of that stuff? Grab a few of the food cans and the canisters you found, Beans, and maybe one of those outfits. Everything is so old, they'd be so cool to have as souvenirs. Isn't that stealing? Finn asks. Edge laughs. Stealing from who? Whoever built this is long gone. I nod. And that food says 1932. It's been a long time since anyone's been here. I turn back around and trail the others down. Let's get a few things. I call dibs on that cute little romper, Scarlet says. Dibs on the watch on the chain, says Beans. I want a can of sardines, Rocky says. I crinkle my nose. Why do you want sardines? It's a cool can. Did you see it? He snatches it off a shelf and turns it around. See, it's got a pin, like a key you spin to open it. Suddenly, I hear a creaking sound behind me. The sunlight filtering down the steps gets narrower and narrower. I look straight up to see Edge closing the rusted door to the outside. What the? I scramble up the steps right as he closes the door all the way and latches it. My heart stops for a startled second before kicking in again. What are you doing? I holler. Edge doesn't answer. I bang on the door. Edge, if this is a joke, it's not funny. He doesn't answer. And with each second, panic builds within me. He can't just leave us in here. What is he doing? Through the hole in the center of the door, I can see his shadow as he moves across the small clearing. He seems to be heading into the woods. My panic morphs into full-on terror. Edge! I bellow. Hoppy barks. Rocky yells. My terror mutates into rage. Edge! Finn wheezes. Scarlet screams. Beans dry heaves. Edge! I shriek so loudly my vocal cords hurt. And then the batteries in our flashlight die and we are cast into darkness. And that is the end of chapter 21. So again, I will leave you on quite the cliffhanger. I remember that scene as like probably the most dramatic scene of the whole book. So you will have to wait and find out what just happened. Where is Edge going? Why would he lock them in there? How are they going to get out? All kinds of questions. You could put them in the comments below. You could start doing that now. But yeah, so thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.